Fingertip placement on the violin is one of the most important topics in the world of violin playing. In order to have a good fingertip placement, you have to think about a few things. You are using an effective fingertip placement for intonation and sound and also injury prevention, but I'm going to get to that later on in the video. Stick around. I have a quick story to tell you when it comes to fingertip placement. A long time ago, when I was an adolescent in high school, I thought I knew everything I knew about learning how to play the violin. And it was when I was experimenting with different shoulder rests and I was experimenting with different hand frames and whatnot. And as a result, I got injured. And have you ever felt like when your foot falls asleep, there are needles, like the feeling of needles in your feet? Well, I got that in my fingers, believe it or not. And it was a result of me not holding the violin properly. And it was also a result of me not putting my fingers down correctly. And that's part of the reason why I'm so strict with my students about the fingertip placement, because I don't want them to get injured when they're starting to perform more advanced repertoire. I can't tell you how many times I've experienced some of my colleagues, some of my friends who did not have a teacher that really focused on those foundations, and their fingers were suffering. They were in pain. And luckily I had a teacher to help me kind of rehabilitate my posture, rehabilitate my whole idea of playing the violin, so that way I have longevity. And my goal for you is to have longevity in your violin playing. Even though it may take a little bit longer on the beginning part of learning the violin, I want you to be successful. That's the whole point of this channel, is for me to help you become a better violinist, be the hero of your own musical journey. So let's talk about that. So fingertip placement is mostly how we put the finger on the violin string. Now you may notice that it's not in the center of my finger. It's mostly to the side, and specifically the left side. I'm actually focusing on this A string here, and I'm putting my first finger on the left side of the finger onto the string, and the second finger and the third finger. Now the fourth finger might be a little bit of an outlier because the fourth finger is the weakest link of the four. You're going to have more finger, a straight pinky finger, to place the pinky accordingly on the string. Again, it goes back to how much weight we can apply on a specific finger. Usually 1, 2, and 3 on the violin are pretty strong fingers. The fourth finger is where we have to add a little bit of more effort to get the right intonation and the right sound. So that's what I recommend that you do in the beginning. I just want you to, actually, if you have your violin, I want you to really apply this technique with me. So if you have your violin with you, I want you to just simply bring the finger up and bring it down onto the left side. And once you feel confident with that first finger, I want you to hold the first finger and I want you to do the second finger like this, and be very gentle and be conscious of where that finger is going. Because if you practice it the wrong way too many times, you're actually mastering your mistakes. That's a concept that beginners oftentimes don't hone into heart. We want to make sure that we're repeating the correct way every single time. So it becomes a bit of a mind game, a strategy for you to really constantly do this over and over again. Now, mind you, it can get very boring. It's a very boring exercise, but if you're able to lay the foundation for your violin playing, then you're not going to have a lot of trouble later on. So it's better to put in the extra effort, the extra work right now, so that you can have more success later on. So let's go back to the exercise. So the first, second, and third finger, you're holding your fingers on your way up. So your third fingers, and I want you to note that my fingers are not completely straight this way. There is some sort of an angle to the finger, like the fingernail is kind of going across this way. If you see the line, if you have drawn an imaginary line, that's normal. We don't want it to be completely straight this way, because as you see, my hand, my angle is going to be pushed back just to be able to achieve those straight fingers. We don't want that. We want there to be a little bit of an angle of the finger when approaching the string. And then the fourth finger, you can apply a little bit more finger pad just to get the right pressure. Now, I might have said the word pressure, but pressure and weight can kind of go interchangeably. I actually like to use the word weight with my students because pressure means that you're kind of applying the pressure and you're squeezing and there's tension involved. But sometimes I use the word pressure because sometimes that word may click with the student more than the word weight. However, that's something that I encourage all my students to work on. So how do we apply this with the bow? Because the entire time we're trying to achieve a good sound and good intonation. So if you have your bow with you, make sure you're following along during this exercise. So what I like to do is I like to put all three fingers on the string and make sure that all your fingers are on the left, like they're touching the left side of the finger. The string is touching the left side, not the middle, because you're going to get more resonance out of your instrument. So that third finger, you can hear how resonant that instrument is. And even you hear that big delay in sound. That's a typical Mississippi stop-stop rhythm, in case you're wondering. Or if you're not under the Suzuki method, then just playing long notes and trying to stop the bow after each note. Then first finger, then open A. Your job is to achieve good intonation and maximum resonance. So when you're practicing at home, an easy way to do this is by doing your scales. Simple A major scale when you are learning this, 1 octave starting from the A. Very easy. Now, another great way, if you find scales to be boring or cumbersome, then I recommend using the first book of Schradiak. I recommend this for anyone who is really trying to master the fingertip placement. And another great exercise is, Schradiak book 1. Now, I've talked about Schradiak a lot on this channel. This is not a Schradiak video, so I'm not going to focus on that. But you can use those exercises as like a prerequisite to your repertoire. You don't have to work on fingertip placement during your repertoire. You can focus on that on your technique part of your practice, and then you can kind of use what you've learned with the technique part of your practice into your repertoire. And I hope this video was really helpful for you, and it would mean the world to me if you subscribe to the channel for more violin content like this. If you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Eric. I help people become better violinists through violin tutorials, videos, and product reviews. And again, subscribe to the channel for more content like this. And I'm going to leave some videos right over here for you to take a look at to become a better violinist.